It's no surprise to anyone who has been following this game closely that the secrets and development and just general information even regarding Scorn are closely kept secrets. A lot of what we know are inferences from the various trailers of the game, well, 3 of them at least, some concept arts, and the rare interviews by the lead developer, Ljubomir Peklar, if I'm even pronouncing that correct. From here on out, I shall just refer to him as Peklar for simplicity's sake. And so, whenever some tidbit of information rears its head and offers some potential answers or insights into the game, it is a fairly big deal to myself and anyone who is following this game closely. Unfortunately, not every hint leads to something major, and there are 2 hints, 2 things that could potentially show more of this game than we have seen in a long while, that unfortunately do not have any follow-ups. One is an interview, and the other is a lecture by one of the developers. So let's begin. It's worth noting that both of these things are found in the photos section of their Facebook page. On Facebook, you're able to upload photos yourself and tag various people and accounts in them. And in the photos section, there's a bit of text that shows off the photos that other people tagged your account in. And the account for the game Scorn is no different. Now, out of the 6 photos as of the publishing of this video, only 2 of them are relevant to anything. The others are either about the Alien movies, a statue that resembles the depressed Scorn guy concept art that has become synonymous with the game, or even about a band named Scorn that has nothing to do with the video game. Nonetheless, 2 of those photos have led to inquiries that have unfortunately reached dead ends, and I want to tell you about them in hopes that perhaps in the future they might show more of what those photos lead to, and in turn show off more information about the game. The first photo is from a page called CrowdStream. From what I could gather, it is a page dedicated to talking about and promoting crowdfunding for various endeavors. The Scorn game was, in general, not completely, but in general, founded by crowdfunding on Kickstarter, and at a later date, Bright Locker. It is interesting that this figure being interviewed was tagged as Scorn. I don't think it is a coincidence that he was tagged as Scorn, or that he was involved in anything else that might bear the name. What's important to think about here is that the lead developer of Scorn, the guy who came up with the whole concept, Peklar, is a bit of a ghost. Try as I might, I could never find any information about him that wasn't in some way tied to Scorn. For example, when I did the History of Agony videos, I discovered that the lead developer worked on previous games, but that is not the case with Peklar. I don't know what he did, I don't know where he got his game making education from, I barely know anything about him other than the fact that he didn't like Prometheus. He's an advocate for privacy, and of course, he worked for Scorn. So it could be that this guy here is Peklar. As of so far, only 2 pictures of this figure are here, and as you can see, there are cameras and recording equipment in the bottom right. So he is no doubt doing an interview that's being filmed, and that is where the problem comes in. I don't know where this interview is. Try as I might, again, I could not find this interview. I checked the Facebook page, I tried looking on Google, I tried a lot of different things, but this particular interview, whenever it was made, remains a mystery, and the footage does not seem to be available online, at least to the public. So not only might it confirm or deny whether or not this figure is the mysterious creator of Scorn itself, but might also shed some light into the history of the development of Scorn, the history of the Kickstarter for Scorn, and perhaps a bit of information about the game itself that was not presented in any of the published materials. And the worst part is, I know footage was recorded of these because on their YouTube page, Centarza Transfer Technology, I'm probably butchering that, but there are 1 or 2 interviews by people with the same backdrop as the one by the guy who was tagged as Scorn in the Facebook picture. So the interview must have been recorded and must exist, but is inaccessible as of now. The other picture of note was uploaded by Madhead Games, which is not to be confused with Madmind Studios, the people who made Agony, but instead a different gaming company. They host a yearly convention called Game Up, where in addition to various booths and tech demos and all of that fun stuff, there's a series of lectures. And one of them was hosted by Lazar Stojanovic, a 3D artist at Ebb Software, who talked about VFX, lighting, and general graphic design. And that is the total sum of footage that is at least related to Scorn. I didn't remove anything accidentally, I didn't cut anything out that was not related to Scorn. That is all there is. This brief few seconds of movement, mainly by the main developer as opposed to anything that he is showing, and that is that. The rest of the lecture remains a major mystery as far as I'm concerned, and was not featured in the multitudes of footage of the recap. The most we see from that video is a blurred out snapshot of a single environment in the game. It is not a bit of the game we have seen before, though it has very similar architecture to the parts of the game we have seen before. I suspect that the thing front and center being illuminated by the single light source might, keyword might, be the stand button prompt things that Scorn Guy uses to interact with various machinery. This one here. But without better footage or complete footage, nothing could be said for certain. Thankfully, that isn't the only part of that lecture that was available to the public. I mentioned before that all of this was featured in the photos section of their Facebook page, and sure enough, there is a single photo that provides a little bit more to look at than what was featured in the recap trailer. This picture here was also tagged as Scorn, specifically the bit behind him on the giant screen, and sure enough it is immediately recognizable as being part of Scorn. Now it might be a bit difficult to see on YouTube, but there is a little bit of information we could gather from this picture, nothing substantial to the plot or lore of the game, but something we can garner from the area itself and how it might play. One of the biggest things to notice is that there's a very narrow path to walk on in this area. In the demo, if you've played it, Scorn Guy cannot jump, he cannot crawl, he cannot climb, he cannot do anything but walk and perhaps jog at a brisk pace. And in this picture, there's narrow paths for him to go through, one of them leading to this little console stand similar in appearance to the one in the demo, and connected to a separate machine slightly left of it that resembles nothing we have seen so far. So it seems in the game that we'll be interacting with many console pieces, which was sort of hinted at in the available concept art, all things considered. The game is supposed to be primarily puzzle-based as opposed to combat-based after all. And if that machine is similar in nature and design to the one we've seen in the demo, then that would further confirm my hypothesis that all of this was built by the same race or culture, and that they have an element of uniformity to them. It's not completely random or weird, there is thought and history behind what they do. But that is not actually the biggest part about this, nor are the structures, which resemble the stuff we've seen in the demo but are not exactly that. But instead, if you look to sort of the left of the picture, there's a door. A very peculiar door that I zoomed into on my own computer and tried to figure out what it might be and where it might lead to, and I discovered some engravings into it that seem rather peculiar. In the next picture I shall show you what I think the engravings are. For the sake of the video, I tried to trace over the lines on the door I saw. And you might think this is the same sort of door that was seen in the demo and gameplay trailer, but I somewhat recognize a very different look to it. One that was not seen in the recent footage of Scorn, one that was much earlier, all the way back in 2014. I found it closer resembles a door presented in the pre-alpha trailer of the game. The trailer that was provided along with the failed and first Kickstarter of the game, as opposed to the successful one we all know that came a year after the teaser trailer of the game and in conjunction with the gameplay trailer of the game. Again, the information is fairly sparse, but I do find that the outlines or the indentations or whatever you want to call them closer resemble this early door model than does the one we've seen in the gameplay trailer and the demo. There's nothing to say as to if the scales at the very center bottom or the red light in the absolute center of the door appear in that door seen in that picture, but the picture is so low quality and blurry, it really is a mystery as to what the details are of what it depicts. Unfortunately, there's no footage of this lecture. Again, try as I might to find the video for it, it simply does not exist. There's no recording of it, there's no upload to YouTube or any other video sharing site. It is a mystery of what the larger part of this man's lecture on the special effects and lighting of a video game is, and it is an even deeper mystery as to what he has shown of his work, specifically in Scorn, was. Perhaps later on both of these channels will upload their proper footage and show what the fans of Scorn have wanted to see for a long time, or at least me, the biggest Scorn weenie around. But that day is not today, and alas, I do not know how or where to find this stuff. In fact, it may very well be that these bits of footage never appears at all. And as stated before in the video and the title of the video itself, this could be forever lost Scorn history. Never to resurface, never to be analyzed, never to be cross-compared with the final product of the game. A rather sad ending to the video, but that is life. Not everything is documented. In any case, I hope you enjoyed the video. That gave you something to think about and otherwise entertained you. Take care.